There comes a moment in retirement planning when you realize that peace, safety, and a sense of belonging matter just as much as affordability and good weather. For Black retirees, those decisions carry an added layer: the need for a community where you're not isolated, overlooked, or forced to navigate environments that were never built with you in mind. And while there isn't a single official dataset that says these are the states Black retirees don't move to, the truth becomes clear when you analyze the numbers, the trends, and the migration patterns shaping the United States today. Research from Brookings, BlackDemographics.com, and National Migration Reports paints a consistent picture. Black Americans are moving toward the South and select metro areas, not toward the cold, sparsely populated, overwhelmingly white states that lack cultural anchors, supportive communities, and strong Black retirement networks. These aren't assumptions, they're patterns. And patterns tell stories. In this video, Top 10 States Where Black Retirees Are Not Moving To, we break down the demographic trends, the lifestyle realities, and the deeper reasons behind why certain parts of the country attract relatively few Black retirees, even if they score well on taxes or appear on generic best places to retire lists. What you're about to see may reshape how you view retirement in America, and challenge a few beliefs along the way. Stay locked in because the countdown starts now. Number 10. Alaska. Alaska is the kind of place that looks breathtaking from a safe distance. On Instagram, gorgeous. On a travel documentary, stunning. But as a Black retiree trying to settle down? Boom. Let's talk about it, because Alaska is that state people romanticize until reality taps them on the shoulder with an icy finger. First, the numbers. Beautify data shows that Black folks make up roughly 3 to 4% of Alaska's population, one of the smallest Black communities in the entire United States. That means if you're looking for a thriving Black social scene, a variety of Black churches, cultural groups, or a lineup of barbershops and beauty salons, you might be in for a long search and an even longer drive. Think one Black barbershop every 300 miles energy. Community is everything in retirement, and in Alaska, the Black community is so tiny that most retirees would feel like they're starting from scratch, socially, culturally, and spiritually. Then there's distance and isolation. Two words that sound poetic until you realize they're expensive. If your family is in the South, East Coast, or Midwest, Alaska might as well be a long-distance relationship with the entire continental US. You're literally thousands of miles away. Visiting the grandkids isn't a quick flight. It's a multi-leg journey featuring layovers, weather delays, and ticket prices that whisper, maybe send them a card instead. For many Black retirees who value staying close to family, that alone takes Alaska off the list. Now let's talk about Alaska's biggest personality trait: harsh winters. Not regular cold, advanced cold. Cold that has you questioning your life choices. We're talking months of darkness, sheets of ice everywhere, and a wind chill that feels like it has personal beef with your joints. And as people age, mobility, arthritis, and general comfort become real considerations. Alaska responds to all that with, "Hope you brought extra gloves." For retirees who dream of sunshine walks, backyard gardening, or simply stepping outside without slipping, Alaska said no. But hey, it's not all bad. Alaska does offer no state income tax, breathtaking natural beauty, and, according to Empower.com, surprisingly decent retirement affordability in certain areas. If you're an outdoor enthusiast who enjoys fishing, mountains, solitude, and wildlife wandering casually through your yard, Alaska could be heaven. But those perks often get overshadowed by the cost of travel, the extreme climate, and the deep cultural isolation many Black retirees would experience. So yes, Alaska is beautiful, dramatic, and unforgettable. But for Black retirees looking for community, convenience, connection, and comfort, it's usually a solid, great to visit, but retire there, not so much. Number 9. New Hampshire. New Hampshire is one of those states that looks straight out of a postcard. Rolling hills, fall leaves that look like someone turned the saturation all the way up, and charming little towns where everybody knows everybody, and everybody looks exactly the same. According to Wikipedia, Black folks make up roughly 2% of the population, which means if you're a Black retiree thinking of moving here, you're not just in the minority. You might literally be the diversity department for your entire zip code. Let's talk about what day-to-day life might actually feel like. Imagine going to the grocery store, church, community events, or even the local diner and always being the only one. Not some days, not occasionally. Always. Now, some folks can handle that. Others? They'd prefer to actually see more than one other black person a month without having to shout across the parking lot, "Hey, cousin." For many retirees who already spent decades navigating spaces where they were the only one, New Hampshire doesn't scream "fresh start." It whispers, "Good luck." Now, New Hampshire's climate, let's just say the winters don't play fair. They are long, they are icy, and they come with the kind of cold that grabs your bones like it's trying to negotiate. Sure, there's no state income tax, which sounds fantastic, but before you celebrate, take a look at the property taxes and housing costs. According to Empower.com, those numbers can snap you right back to reality. You save on income tax, but then hand it right back when that property tax bill hits like an unexpected plot twist. Here's another thing. This state is simply not a black migration magnet. As Brookings shows, black Americans have been moving steadily towards southern metro areas, places with warmer weather, black communities, cultural familiarity, and actual diversity. New Hampshire is none of that. It's peaceful, it's safe, it's quiet, but culturally, it doesn't offer the type of black retirement experience most retirees are seeking: community, connection, and visibility. But to be fair, New Hampshire does score well in national retirement rankings. Kiplinger praises its healthcare, low crime, and yes, that sweet, sweet lack of income tax. So if you're a retiree who loves quiet forests, tiny towns, and doesn't mind being the only black person from January to December, this place might suit you. But for the majority of black retirees looking for warmth, culture, affordability, and people who share their experiences, New Hampshire tends to fall into the "looks nice on paper, but not on my retirement plan" category. Number 8. Maine. Maine is the kind of place people describe as peaceful, picturesque, or a great place to write a novel in a cabin. But if you're a black retiree looking for community, culture, and a place where you don't have to drive 45 minutes just to find a barbershop that knows what a taper fade is, Maine politely bows out. Let's start with the population. According to Wikipedia, black folks make up roughly 2% of the entire state, one of the smallest black populations in the United States. And it's not just that Maine is small, it's that the people who are there are seasoned. Census.gov shows Maine is one of the oldest states demographically, meaning there are more older adults than children. But guess what? Very few of those seniors are black. So if you're dreaming of a retirement community with folks who share your background, experiences, or even your taste in music, Maine might have you scrolling right back to the Carolinas. Culturally, Maine is rural, extremely rural. Outside of a few modest cities like Portland or Bangor, the towns are tiny, spread out, and quiet enough that you can probably hear your neighbor's snow shovel from 3 towns over. And because everything is so spread out, finding black-owned businesses, cultural organizations, black churches, social clubs, or familiar community anchors becomes a scavenger hunt. Without the clues. For many black retirees, that lack of infrastructure isn't just inconvenient, it's isolating. Now onto the weather, or as retirees call it, the deal breaker. Maine's winters are not for the casual cold hater. We're talking snow, ice, cold ocean winds, and a chill so sharp it feels like it has opinions. Arthritis? Mobility issues? Just wanting to get the mail without risking a slip-and-slide incident? Maine sends its condolences. Long winters mean less outdoor time, less sunshine, and more opportunities for seasonal depression to kick in, like it owns the place. To be fair, Maine does have perks. Its beautiful coasts, quiet living, and low crime are all major selling points. Kiplinger often highlights Maine for its serene lifestyle and safety, which can appeal to certain retirees who love tranquility. But if you're also looking for black cultural infrastructure, well, good luck. Compared to states like Georgia, Texas, or the Carolinas, Maine simply doesn't have the density, diversity, or community resources that many black retirees prefer. So yes, Maine is stunning. It's calm, it's scenic, but for black retirees seeking connection, culture, and climate that doesn't personally attack their joints, Maine ranks more like a vacation spot, beautiful to visit, but not exactly calling your name for permanent living. Number 7. Vermont. Vermont is the kind of place that makes you want to sip herbal tea, wear a flannel shirt, and pretend you're writing a best-selling novel in a cabin surrounded by maple trees. It's peaceful, it's charming, it's politically progressive, and it's also one of the whitest states in America, according to Wikipedia, with a black population hovering around 1 to 2%. That's not a small number, that's a microscopic one. If Maine was already light on black community density, Vermont looked at Maine and said, "Hold my organic, locally sourced kombucha." Let's just be real. If you're a black retiree looking to spend your golden years surrounded by people who share your cultural background, Vermont will have you playing a lifelong game of Where's Waldo? Except Waldo is another black person, and he only shows up twice a year. You might find the occasional black student at one of the colleges or a transplanted professional in Burlington, but widespread diversity? No, ma'am. No, sir. Now, Vermont does offer liberal politics, scenic landscapes, and small-town charm, and that sounds great until you actually try to build a social life. Black churches? Good luck. Black social clubs? Not likely. Black neighborhoods? Only in your imagination. For retirees who crave community, not just people waving politely from porches, but people who get them, Vermont can feel isolating fast. Then there's the cost. Vermont is beautiful, but beauty here comes with a price tag. Housing costs, which should be low in a rural state, are surprisingly high. Property taxes? Also high. Everyday living expenses? You might accidentally spend $12 on a loaf of bread because it was baked by a local artisan named River, who only uses moonlit water from an untouched mountain stream. And if you're a retiree who wants to keep a part-time gig or run a small business, you won't find a big black professional network to plug into, because Vermont barely has one. But to be fair, Vermont does get a few things right. If you're into quiet rural life, organic food, progressive laws, and the idea of living somewhere where the loudest noise is a cow sneezing in the distance, this might be your paradise. The natural beauty is unmatched, and the pace of life is slow in a way that feels poetic. But for most black retirees who want cultural connection, diversity, access to black-owned businesses, and a community that feels familiar, Vermont sits firmly in the lovely vacation spot, questionable retirement choice category. Number 6. Idaho. Idaho is beautiful. Let's start there. The mountains are dramatic, the rivers look like desktop wallpapers, and the potatoes, legendary. But if you're a black retiree looking to settle down, Idaho might feel less like the peaceful place I've always dreamed of, and more like the place where I became an honorary unicorn. Why? Because, according to Wikipedia, black residents make up only about 1% of the entire population. That's not just low. You might accidentally count the same person twice low. BlackDemographics.com estimates that Idaho has fewer than 20,000 black residents spread across the whole state. So even if you tried to build a black social circle, you're working with a population that's thin enough to fit inside a high school football stadium with room to spare. Want a black-owned barbershop? You'll be searching. A black church? Good luck. A neighborhood with a strong black presence? Only if you're willing to redefine presence to mean 3 families and a cousin passing through. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or, in Idaho's case, the history in the room. The Mountain West region has had its share of white nationalist and anti-government groups, especially in the 80s and 90s. While that's not the whole state and not everyone's experience, the reputation lingers. And for black retirees thinking about safety, comfort, and whether their new neighbors will be cool with them grilling outside while playing Frankie Beverly and Maze, Idaho's past is something to think about. At minimum, it's a red flag flapping loudly in the breeze. Culturally, Idaho doesn't have much of what retirees often look for: community infrastructure. There aren't many black social clubs, community hubs, or established neighborhoods with a strong, visible black presence. Instead, you get polite small towns, peaceful rural life, and the occasional "oh wow, I didn't expect to see another black person today" moment. But to be fair, Idaho does have some genuine perks. Empower.com highlights its affordable real estate, low taxes, and outdoor lifestyle that attracts hikers, fishermen, and anyone who loves nature. If you're the type of retiree who wants solitude, mountains, quiet, and wide-open spaces, Idaho could be your personal paradise. But for most black retirees, Being one out of every 100 people doesn't scream retirement dream. It screams, maybe visit in the summer, but move. Let me think about it. We're halfway through the countdown. If you are enjoying the video so far, hit the like button, subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, and ring the notification bell for more informative content. Let's get back into it. Number 5. North Dakota. North Dakota is the kind of place that looks absolutely stunning in a travel brochure. Endless skies, fields that stretch into forever, sunsets that should be framed, and winter conditions that will have you questioning every decision you've ever made. Sure, it has charm, but if you're a Black retiree thinking of settling down, North Dakota comes with some considerations. Let's start with the numbers. BlackDemographics.com shows that Black residents make up roughly 3 to 4% of the population. Sounds decent on paper, right? Until you realize the entire state barely has enough people to fill a medium-sized stadium. So 3 to 4% of not that many people is still not that many people. Outside of a few small metros, the Black population is scattered like pepper flakes on a giant bowl of mashed potatoes. Finding a substantial Black community here is like trying to find a Caribbean restaurant in the middle of a cornfield. Possible, but don't get your hopes up. Now, let's talk about the economy. North Dakota is known for its energy-driven boom and bust cycles. When oil is booming, people flood in for jobs, usually younger working-age folks looking for quick money. But retirees? That's not exactly the vibe. Retirees want stability, predictability, and a cost of living that won't swing wildly depending on global oil prices. In North Dakota, the economy sometimes feels like it's on a roller coaster you didn't ask to ride. And the weather. Let's take a moment. If you think you've experienced cold, North Dakota would like to politely disagree. Winters here are long, harsh, and capable of freezing your eyelashes mid-blink. Icy roads, blizzards, sub-zero temperatures, the kind of cold that grabs your joints and says, "Welcome to your new personality." For retirees who dream of mild winters and walking outside without slipping, North Dakota answers with a firm, "Try again." Culturally, the challenge is real. Outside a few cities, the number of Black churches, civic groups, and social anchors is tiny. If you're looking for intergenerational Black community, cultural events, or spaces where people get you without explanation, North Dakota makes that tough. Isolation isn't just geographic, it's social. To be fair, North Dakota does offer some perks. Kiplinger highlights its low unemployment, relatively low crime in many rural areas, and affordability in certain towns. Some retirees appreciate the quiet, the open spaces, and the slower pace of life. But for most Black retirees, North Dakota feels less like a retirement destination and more like a place you visit once, take pretty pictures, and say, "Beautiful, but I'm not moving here." Number 4. South Dakota. South Dakota is one of those states that sneaks up on people, not because everyone's dying to move there, but because most people forget it exists until someone mentions Mount Rushmore. And honestly, that's kind of the vibe. Peaceful? Yes. Scenic? Absolutely. But a top pick for Black retirees? South Dakota politely says, probably not. Let's start with the numbers. BlackDemographics.com shows that Black residents make up around 3% of the state's population. And just like with its northern sibling, that 3% is spread so thin across all those small towns and farmland that you could drive for hours without seeing another Black person, unless you count your reflection in the rearview mirror. If community and cultural familiarity matter to you in retirement, and for most retirees, they do, South Dakota isn't exactly overflowing with options. Culturally, the state is rural, quiet, and deeply spread out. Think tiny towns separated by long drives, lots of farmland, and neighborhoods where everybody knows each other. And by each other, they mean everyone who's been living there since the 1940s. Black churches? Very few. Black social networks? Extremely limited. Black-owned businesses? You'll need a GPS and a miracle. For Black retirees craving a sense of connection, this kind of isolation can feel less like peaceful country living and more like being stranded on a well-decorated island. Now let's talk about the Great Retirement Trap. Rankings. Some national assessments, like those highlighted by Empower.com, give South Dakota high marks for its low taxes, no state income tax, and general affordability. And those things are attractive if you look strictly at numbers. But numbers don't reflect racial experience. A state can be affordable and still leave you feeling like the last guest at a party nobody told you ended 2 hours ago. Safety, comfort, cultural support, those matter just as much as property taxes. And South Dakota doesn't exactly offer a thriving Black retirement ecosystem. Then there's the climate. According to Brookings, Black migration trends overwhelmingly lean toward warmer southern states. In South Dakota, it responds with long, harsh winters, icy roads, and winds that feel like they have personal beef with your existence. If your bones don't already ache, give it one winter. They'll catch up. To its credit, South Dakota does offer low taxes and a laid-back lifestyle. Some retirees genuinely enjoy the quiet, the open skies, and not having neighbors within shouting distance. But for Black retirees who want cultural comfort, diversity, and community spaces where they don't feel like a rare collectible item, the South, the actual South, usually looks much more appealing. Number 3. Utah. Utah is stunning. Let's get that out of the way. The national parks look like they were carved by angels freelancing as sculptors. The mountains are majestic, the skies are cinematic, and the desert sunsets can make a grown man emotional. But if you're a Black retiree looking for community, connection, and cultural comfort, Utah might feel less like a retirement dream and more like a social experiment. According to Axios, Black residents make up roughly 2% of the state's population, one of the smallest shares in the entire country. Even more telling, more than half of Utah's Black population is concentrated in one county, Salt Lake County. That means the rest of the state is basically a vast landscape of breathtaking views and absolutely no Black people. If you like being the only one everywhere you go, the only one at church, the only one at the grocery store, the only one in the HOA meeting, then Utah is ready to welcome you with open arms and confused stares. But it's not just the numbers that make Utah a tough sell, it's the policy climate. Recent years have brought legislation banning DEI initiatives in higher education and even closing some cultural centers. That sends a loud, clear message, especially to Black professionals, students, and families, that inclusion is not high on the priority list. And even if you're a retiree who's not going back to college or joining campus groups, that energy trickles down. Now, to be fair, Utah does have some serious positives. It has incredible national parks, a strong economy, low unemployment, and a reputation for being clean, safe, and well-organized. Outdoorsy retirees, hikers, and nature lovers can absolutely thrive here. But for most Black retirees who want visibility, familiarity, and a sense of belonging, Utah often ends up in the beautiful to visit, not built for me to stay category. Number 2, Wyoming. Wyoming is gorgeous. Let's give it credit. The landscapes look like they were handcrafted for a nature documentary. The mountains, epic. The skies, endless. The wildlife, practically standing there waiting for you to take a picture. But if you're a Black retiree looking for community, culture, or even just a barber who knows how to do a proper lineup, Wyoming might have you rethinking your entire retirement plan. Let's talk population. According to Census Dots and U.S. Census data, Black residents make up about 1% of the entire state. Yes, 1%. Wyoming has fewer than 10,000 Black residents total, making it one of the least Black places in the entire country. You could go days without seeing another Black person unless you brought one with you. If Alaska feels remote, Wyoming feels like the witness protection version of retirement for Black folks. And culturally, Wyoming is rural, sparse, and spread out, not just a little bit, but the least populous state in America level sparse. According to federal community health data, mchb.tvsdata.air.gov, towns are small and often miles apart, separated by long highways, ranch land, and wide-open nothingness. That means very few Black churches, barbershops, beauty salons, social groups, or recognizable cultural anchors. If you're used to seeing Black businesses, neighborhoods, festivals, or any kind of community network, Wyoming gently whispers, "Not here." Now let's address the lifestyle fit. Wyoming isn't just cold, it's the kind of cold that feels personal. Wind that hits you like it's collecting debts. Winters that stay longer than they should. And a cultural identity rooted in ranching, mining, and energy work. For some retirees, that rugged vibe is appealing. But for most Black retirees, who, according to Brookings, have been migrating toward warmer, more diverse southern metros and suburbs, Wyoming is the opposite of the dream. It's giving cowboy boots, cattle, and hope you brought your coat. To be fair, Wyoming does have its perks. It has no state income tax, beautiful scenery, and, according to Empower.com, appealing financial benefits for retirees looking to stretch their income. If you love quiet nature and being far from everything and everyone, it could feel peaceful. But culturally, socially, comfort-wise, Wyoming is the kind of place where a Black retiree is almost guaranteed to be the only one in the room. At church, the grocery store, the gym, community events, you name it. And for most retirees, the point of retiring is to relax, not to navigate being a cultural island in every setting. Wyoming is stunning, no doubt, but for Black retirees seeking warmth, community, and cultural visibility, it rarely makes the final list. Number 1, Montana. And now taking the top spot on the Black retirees are not moving here list, we've arrived at Montana, a state so beautiful, so vast, and so empty of Black people that it practically rewrites the definition of low diversity. According to blackdemographics.com, Montana has the lowest Black population percentage in the entire country, hovering somewhere between 0.5% and 1%. That's not just low, that's did the census forget to count somebody? Low. Let's break that down. Montana has the smallest Black share and one of the smallest Black populations by raw numbers. So if you're a Black retiree moving here, chances are high that you're about to become the unofficial president, vice president, and treasurer of the Montana Black Association, because you might be the whole association. Black churches? Good luck. Black social organizations? That'll be you and your shadow. Historically Black neighborhoods? Only in your imagination. And then there's the cultural isolation, the kind that isn't subtle. In many Montana towns, a Black retiree isn't just in the minority, they are the minority. The only one at church, the only one in the HOA, the only one at community events, the only one at the grocery store, the dentist, and the pharmacy. That constant only one energy might build character, but most folks retire to relax, not to become a walking diversity initiative everywhere they go. Let's not forget the climate. Montana winters aren't just long. They are long, brutal, and disrespectful. We're talking snowstorms that make your front door disappear, icy highways that test your faith, temperatures that feel like they skipped cold and went straight to why am I here? And according to Brookings, Black retirees overwhelmingly migrate toward warmer southern states, which means Montana isn't even on the map, figuratively and literally. Geographically, Montana is also far from major Black cultural hubs like Georgia, Florida, Texas, and North Carolina. So staying connected to family means flights, miles, and lots of prayer that your plane can actually take off in the middle of a snowstorm. Now, to be completely fair, Montana does have its charms. Outdoor lovers will adore the mountains, lakes, and national parks. The open spaces are peaceful, the skies are breathtaking, and the solitude can feel like paradise, if solitude is your thing. But for Black retirees seeking community, cultural familiarity, comfort, and connection, Montana proudly claims the #1 spot as the state they're least likely to pick. And that wraps up the countdown. If you found this eye-opening, surprising, or straight-up entertaining, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us where you think Black retirees thrive the most. Your feedback helps shape the next video.